Ms. Myers, I guess I take from your testimony what you were referring to, and I sort of talked about this yesterday in an interview that I did, is so you're a country, your economy needs to be developed, you have needs. You need roads, you need this, you need that. And here comes a Chinese business subsidized by the state, offering you not just to construct the project, obviously with their workers, but to finance it. And in some cases, frankly, some cash under the table for some of the decision makers as well. And the result is they understand China's a threat. They may not be big fans of China per se. They may be worried about what it means long term. But politically, it's tremendously beneficial to be at the ribbon cutting of this great new project that's financed. There may be a debt trap, but that'll be somebody else's problem down the road, not when they're in office anymore. And in some cases, frankly, maybe you or some of your friends got some added benefits from it that it's hard for us to compete against that. We can't bribe government officials in some of these countries, and we don't have a system in which we can go in and create infrastructure projects and finance them if the dollars or the money that it generates doesn't justify it. In essence, it has to be a justified project. In the case of China, it seems, and that's really my question, how much of this is they're willing to do projects that may not make sense from a market standpoint because it makes sense for them from a geopolitical standpoint?
It's a fantastic question. And indeed, both Evan and I and many others who are studying this particular issue are committed to trying to understand the primary motivations behind a lot of these major infrastructure projects, whether they are commercially viable or not, whether they have a very strong strategic rationale or not. But you're right. I mean, in many of these cases, especially, for example, the La Union port in El Salvador, right, is a perfect example where it's not a commercially viable project and would very much seem to be of interest to China for strategic reasons. So how does one compete with that, right? Especially when it's of interest to whatever government in power, and there may be kickbacks involved, and China's speed involved, and something to announce to an electorate, perhaps in advance of the next presidential election. It's a very, very challenging thing to do. What can the U.S. do in this particular instance? I mean, we can work, probably not necessarily in El Salvador, but in a lot of countries to on capacity building, on ensuring accountability, on ensuring transparency in procurement processes, on making sure that there is, as we say, a more even playing field, and a lot of this work is being done by state right now. I think it needs to be amplified considerably. We also need to work with media to absolutely highlight those instances of projects gone wrong. Chinese projects gone wrong because of corruption. These are not well understood. They sometimes just fall off the radar when they are in a period of protracted stasis or are canceled altogether. And few understand why, and a lot of that is related to corruption or a failure to have a fully transparent procurement process. So that needs to be well understood as well through media articles and reports that are published in Spanish or Portuguese. And also, being there in many cases, not just for, unviable from a commercial perspective projects, but viable ones. China is still the only company, and the Chinese companies are still the only ones in the room, the only ones, submitting bids that are competitive. So it's it's a matter of also being at the table. There are a number of things, I think, ongoing that we can do and perhaps enhance to better our position in this particular respect without copying China's problematic model.
Ms. Jealous, let me ask you this in the brief time I have left. One of the things that's being talked about a lot these days is supply chains. And I think one of the things that Americans have learned through the pandemic is how dependent we are at things that are made halfway around the world. And if there's a pandemic over there, they have to close factories. If containers get backed up, frankly, in the future, if they decide to cut us off because we're in conflict with China, we don't get some of these essential products that range from things critical to our national security to the commercial products that people grew accustomed to and now are wondering why they can't find. And it strikes me that to the extent, obviously, I believe that we want to bring some of that manufacturing capacity to the United States, that's something that we should prioritize. There are perhaps some functions that will never be cost-effective to do here because of where they are. But it strikes me that given the fact that so much of that is imported into North America, to the extent that those supply chains can't be in the United States, why can't they be in Honduras and Guatemala and other countries, in Haiti and other part, Dominican Republic, that would certainly benefit from this? And I think it deals with a number of things, including economic opportunity, stems migration flow, or the need to migrate, and so forth. What are the impediments standing in the way of supply chain capabilities moving, some of them at least, to this hemisphere, where theoretically you have young populations that could fill those jobs much the way that Southeast Asia started to do 25, 30 years ago?
Senator Rubio, you make a very important point, and certainly while such decisions are generally in the hands of the private sector in terms of where to put their investment and their other options, such as managing inventory to offset some of these great risks that we've seen in supply chains from the Pacific. Certainly, if you take a look at Mexico with a relatively good infrastructure, at least transportation infrastructure, qualified populations, similar opportunities in Central America and elsewhere, it is absolutely every reason through our trade policy and through encouraging of investment that we should be able to at least get a portion of that coming into the right direction and in the process help the region. Part of the difficulties have already come up today. On the one hand, you have really our two key bodies, Development Finance Corporation, which should be, I would argue, far more agile, and I would say that some of the restrictions that we have on DFC have made it difficult despite the very good progress that it's already made in increasing its portfolio. On the other hand, is the committee, in my personal judgment, has already brought up the issue of what can we do to better increase the capital or support the IADB, and frankly, what can we do in other areas also to better work with our partners, and it goes beyond just the economics, but it also goes to working with our partners on security collaboration and other issues, and also dialoguing more effectively with some of our partners who are shooting themselves in the foot. For example, Mexico should be one of our most important partners for increasing that nearshoring, and yet at the same time, we have unfortunately an administration there, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who is doing everything possible to make his nation's electricity, including green electricity, more expensive and less viable, pushing up cost to produce in Mexico as an alternative. So I would argue that there are a range of things that we need to do to bring about that nearshoring to the benefit of our hemisphere and for Americans. Thank you for the question, Senator.